The pure promise of a newly sparked candle can be deceiving.
Owens to the 5, touchdown, Ocho Uno.
The dancing flame demands our attention.
The Cowboys report to training camp with high expectations.
It brings hope from despair.
An interception is going to end the Dallas Cowboys season.
And light the darkness.
Here comes Ware for his weekly sack.
But sometimes the light reveals things we'd rather not see.
They rush the punt, they block the punt. The Cardinals pick it up and walk it in. Touchdown, game over.
Sometimes the light itself is fragile.
Uh-oh, he's injured.
The Cowboys have a man down on the field.
There's an injured Cowboy.
They cannot afford to lose any more players.
Candles indeed are a burning example that the whole is more than the sum of its parts.
I don't know how much of what any of us have read or heard is true.
Wax, wick, and fire, whose very genesis stems from friction, attrition, and erosion.
He is sacked again by Jay Retland. Holy cow, what a defensive effort this is. That's a price of admission run after catch.
But yet there still is that flame.
A ridiculous throw by Tony Romo.
A beacon in the darkness.
And DeMarcus Ware has it.
Providing a glimmer of hope, fragile though it may be. The pure promise of a newly sparked candle can be deceiving.
This is the story of a brand new team on the Texas scene, the Dallas Cowboys. They knew it would be a tough row to hoe, starting from scratch in an attempt to match the mighty aggregations of the National Football League. But the Cowboy management also knew that Texas fans wouldn't settle for anything less than the world's best football.
It was football in Texas, and I used to say that, you know, there were probably three things that were important in Texas. Business, football, and religion. And in some respects, football and religion were sort of intertwined.
The valiant comeback was shackled when Tom Brown intercepted the beleaguered Meredith's fourth down pass. It was a tough end to a long season.
We've been the losers, the bridesmaids, the whole bit, and next year's champions, and it was pretty frustrating for people like myself who'd been there a long time.
Next year's champions can't win the big one. We heard that more than we wanted to.
Hard Stars all set, 16 seconds left. Stars in, touchdown. The crowd has gone wild and run on the field. Well, the Cowboys so close again.
Next year's champions, or we couldn't win the big game, and it was a compliment that we were a winning team. It's really negative when you have that thing hanging over your head that you can't win the big game.
It's all tied up at 13-13. 9 seconds showing on the clock. There is the snap. The kick is up, it is long enough. It is!
We didn't lose the game, we gave it away. With turnovers and things that really shouldn't happen to a good team like we were.
We lost, and then, then you develop that taste, and at that point you know exactly what you have to do to get there and win it.
So we got together, after we had lost that game, and we said, hey man, we can win this thing. We can win it all.
But the pressure was building from the fans, from the media, and from themselves.
You had to experience the stares when you go into a shopping center. You go into a mall and shop, and people turn around and look at you, and they kind of turn their nose down at you.
Not that they were close enough that I could hear it, because I don't think they would have said it to my face and if I'd have been close enough to touch them, because they probably wouldn't have liked the results.
There was just like a negative connotation everywhere you went. Even the players on other teams, when you go to the Pro Bowl, would say, you guys just aren't tough enough to win. And I'm thinking, you don't even know what tough is.
What we said was, hey, let's commit ourselves, let's dedicate ourselves in training camp to work toward getting to the ultimate goal. And that was back to the Super Bowl.
But the '71 season didn't exactly start that way.
perfect shot is rare indeed.
Banging off a man, goal line, touchdown Barber.
So many elements have to be just right.
Lost his helmet, keeps running, without a hat. 15 to the 10 to the 6. Don't take a man's hat.
Position, exposure, luck.
To the 10, 5, it's wide open. Touchdown Romo.
It takes patience, practice, persistence to capture the perfect picture.
Intercepted at the 50, Newman can take this one in. Touchdown, Terrence Newman.
Goals are unclear until the focus is sharp.
Down the post, over at the 10 all alone to the crossbar where he spikes it over the top.
Images of today have been influenced by pictures of the past.
Pearson goes in for the touchdown, and Pearson throws the ball over the scoreboard.
Those who have come before left indelible images, inspired us, and showed us what we can become. The perfect shot is rare indeed. 1 second you think you've got it, the next it's gone in a flash.
Flutie flushed, throws it down, caught by Boston College. I don't believe it. It's a touchdown. The Eagles win it.
Lets it fly. Oh my goodness! Touchdown LSU!
It's caught by the Browns. The Cleveland Browns have won the game on a 56-yard touchdown.
The ball's up in the air. Caught. Touchdown. Caught by Westbrook for a touchdown. They call it in some circles the Hail Mary.
There have been plenty of imitations over the years, but 30 years ago, in 1975, the Dallas Cowboys pulled off the original Hail Mary, perhaps the most famous pass in NFL history.
30 years ago, and people are still talking about it and still upset.
I think that play really was a very important play in Cowboy history.
It was one of the biggest disappointments that I ever had, at least as an assistant coach.
Roger Staubach and Drew Pearson led a young, hungry Cowboys team into the first round of the '75 playoffs, but they weren't given much of a chance against the 12-2 Vikings.
Fred Cox is ready to kick off. Preston Pearson and Doug Jennison deep for the Cowboys.
The Vikings were heavily favored up in Minnesota, and I think they were getting ready to play the Rams next week.
You're looking to the #1 defensive team in the entire National Football League, the Minnesota Vikings. This year with 46 sacks, 28 interceptions, #1 in every category, the rush, the pass, and overall.
I've never said that any one group or any team was the best of all time, but that was one of the best.
Cowboys, Redskins. It has been a heated clash since the days of the old cattle drives in the West. A battle waged on the plains and prairies. In modern times, the rivalry has moved to the east.
Oh, handoff and Ed Jones snuffs it.
The battlefield, the gridiron. The cause, the same. Territorial rights.
Tony Hill, touchdown! Tony Hill! Oh, the Cowboys have won the East unbelievably.
Cowboys, Redskins. These two sides still agree to disagree.
There's a big ball, flags everywhere. They're going to throw Spellman out of this game.
It's all over! Personal foul, blow to the face.
Oh my goodness!
The Cowboys are riding high on top of the division. The Redskins are desperate to get back in the fight. The table is set. All signs point to another classic conflict. History, passion, and pride, they're all on the line. It's a high noon tussle. It's Cowboys, Redskins, again.
The beat. It drives. It moves us. Stirs the soul. The beat. Primitive, yet complex. Simple, yet spiritual. From a single musician to a finely tuned band. The beat is the lifeblood of music. For the Dallas Cowboys, 2009 saw 53 hearts come together to beat as one.
Oh, we gotta be tough.
The tone of 2009, team.
Touchdown, Patrick Creighton.
The tempo, allegro.
Touchdown, 49 yards.
The melody, magical. Music can be a salvation.
Austin made the play. Austin saved the day.
Its conductor orchestrated a verse never heard.
Back-to-back shutouts for the first time in the history of the franchise.
All phases must move in harmony toward a common goal.
The Dallas Cowboys won the NFC East today.
A crescendo at season's end.
Thrown in the end zone, caught by John Phillips. Touchdown to Shard. Choice. Austin 5, Austin goal line. Say goodnight, 73 yards. The playoff drought is over.
Yes, the beat can be a lot of things. But most importantly, the beat must go on.